Morning, my name is Matt Sullivan, Director of Planning and Development, joining you for this month's Coffee and Connections. This month I'm going to do a brief overview of two municipal projects that will be happening in 2018 and into 2019 on one of the projects. And the project I want to start with today is the Municipal Library. Voters will know that they supported this project in March of 2018. This includes a renovation to the existing public library and an addition to the building as well. And what I want to do today is sort of focus on the exterior of the site, because that's what the Planning and Development Department is really concerned with. The interior of the site is being planned by the library, and particularly Cindy Scott, the Executive Director, and the Building Committee that's working with her on that, and the architect Valley Brensinger. So the interior of the site is really focused on by the library, but the exterior, which will be changing, is within our realm. So there are a couple things happening that you'll see, and hopefully you can get a good view of this plan as I walk through it. The existing library building, the wall of the existing library building with South Main Street right here is going to be moving out as part of this project, and that's because there'll be a porch area added where there'll be expanded reading rooms and that sort of thing. Additionally, the front of the building will be moving from right here where it is right now all the way out to about 20 feet from South Main Street, adding some additional reading room, adding some light to the front of the building. Some energy efficient windows will be installed. So really making some improvements to the building and doing that, and adding a whole lot more space for the library to operate. And obviously there's a lot of critical services being added through that library complex. There are going to be some changes happening on the site as well that I think are really important to point out as you plan to go to the library in 2019 and beyond. As it stands right now, there's one library entrance and a circular circulation pattern back here. That will change. What we're going to have now is an entrance here with an in only around here. You'll have the option to turn and exit the library through an out only exit, or there'll be a one-way pattern in the back of the site also leading to an out only. So the traffic pattern is going to change, so it's a one-way around the site. I'd watch out for that next time you head over to the library. We'll be adding some parking. That sort of matches up with the addition to the building. There'll be a lot of, again, interior reconfiguration, adding some rooms, adding some more specific services and building features that enhance the programming the library is currently offering. We're making some huge improvements here to stormwater management. As it stands right now, the site is significantly covered by what we call impervious surfaces. Those are surfaces that don't allow for infiltration of water, stormwater particularly. And we're changing that. We're adding some inlets right here and some stormwater management basins. Under the parking lot, there'll be a large stone reservoir to actually infiltrate rainwater and stormwater. And that will go through this area and these basins that we're creating. Additionally, we'll be moving snow storage sort of off of the lot sides. I do want to point out that this project includes, as part of the parking configuration, includes some minimal impacts to wetlands. So what we'll be doing is some what we call a dredge and fill application to get that wetlands impact approved. And that's really, again, to allow the enhancement of the parking in this area, because really this site is shifting far more towards the southern side than where it is now. Currently the edge of the parking area and entrance is right about here, so we're moving really towards that southern side of these two lots that the town merged in the past. A couple other really small things to point out. Obviously, with the building moving closer to the road, you'll see some changes up here. We will have to remove some trees. We're looking into whether some of those trees can be saved. Obviously, trees are a critical piece of the streetscape as you drive down South Main Street, and we want to create that sort of village corridor. One of the ideas behind bringing the building to the front of the lot is that in this particular zoning district, we really want to create that village feel, and the way that we do that is by creating what we call a minimum and a maximum setback. So in most zones you have a building setback and you have to have your building beyond that. Here we not only have that, but we actually have a maximum as well. So we push the buildings really towards the front of the lots within this zoning district. So the configuration of this new building is a result of that. I do want to point out one other thing too. Currently the public safety building, which is up in this northern area here, is going through the process of a feasibility study for both the police and the fire departments on that lot, trying to determine whether or not the lot can handle an expansion of the public safety building that would really match what the needs are of the departments as they exist right now. That project is in the CIP, the Capital Improvements Plan for 2022. So we're really in one of the preliminary phases of figuring out whether this lot can handle the building that we need But with that in mind, we are interested in exploring whether or not there'll be a need for a connection between the two sites for emergency access. So that's one thing that we really need to sort of plan for in this library project while we don't truly know the future of this other lot. With that, I do want to mention that currently this project is going through the review process at the Planning Board. It actually went to the Planning Board for preliminary review in May of 2018, and there'll be another public hearing in June of 2018, this month you're watching this. Additionally, the library will be holding an open house to talk about sort of the final reveal of the building design, sort of the aesthetics of the building, and also to talk about the site design as well. The date for that isn't set at this time, but if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to me at 569-5970 or planning director at wolfeboronh.us or Cindy Scott at the library, and just visit the library's website for contact information for her. The second project I want to talk to you about today is the upgrades happening to the 390 line as part of the Municipal Electric Department's budget. As I mentioned with the library project, this project was also approved by the voters in March of 2018. I do want to mention to start off that this project has no impact to the tax rate. It's already covered within the electrical fees that you pay as part of your bill. But what this project is really focused on is upgrades to the existing 390 line, which is our primary source of, and it's the sole source of electric for the town of Wolfeboro and the Municipal Electric Department. It runs from the Wolfeboro-Tuftonboro town line all the way down to Back Bay at the substation, and the whole expanse there will be upgraded as part of this project. Now, you won't really notice much when the project is complete, except for the fact that the pole height of all the poles is increasing by about 10 feet throughout that corridor. This is part of an existing right-of-way that's owned and maintained by the Municipal Electric Department. There are a couple things I want to talk about that are part of the planning board's and the planning department's review that are critical to point out. Throughout this corridor, there's some significant wetland areas and complexes, including a prime wetland down in this area adjacent to Back Bay. Back in May of 2018, the electric department made a presentation to the planning board talking about how they would mitigate impacts to those wetlands. They'll be using a combination of timber matting for heavy equipment to roll over, silt fencing to ensure that there's no erosion or sedimentation, sheet flow runoff. And those two things were really appreciated by the planning board, and as a result, in May, this project received approval with no comments from the board to continue. There were some questions at that hearing about invasive species and how those would be controlled throughout the corridor, particularly in this northern area of the right-of-way. And the Municipal Electric Department is going to be taking measures to ensure that those concerns are addressed by having staff on site throughout the project and really working directly with landowners to ensure that their concerns are reflected during the process. I also want to mention that if you live in this corridor and your property may be used for access, you'll be contacted by the electric department prior to them using your property, and they'll request consent to use your property as access. So if you haven't heard anything from them yet, don't panic. Barry Muccio, the director, will be in contact with you soon. One other thing I do want to point out is that if you have questions about this particular project, while I'm the one reviewing it with you, Barry Muccio is really the point of contact, and you can contact him through the Wolfeboro Electric Department's page on the Town of Wolfeboro website or via their Facebook, which they update very regularly with any questions or concerns that you might have. During the planning board hearing, there was some discussion about whether or not there'd be a future potential to do submarine cables in the Back Bay area. There's some cost issues there that will need to be discussed in the future, but at this point there are no plans to do any kind of submarine activity. We'll continue with overhead wires in that area. With that, if you have any questions, again, please contact Barry Muccio with the Electric Department. To sort of close out Coffee and Connections for this month, I do want to mention that the Planning Board will be holding a master plan midterm forum to sort of check in on the progress of the master plan. I just want to note that to date, we've had about 30 meetings of master plan subcommittees. We have about 60 people serving on subcommittees as well. It's been keeping me very busy, but there's been some incredible engagement. We've had a lot of good discussion and discourse about some critical issues to the community. And that midterm forum on June 19th at 7 p.m. is a critical way to learn about how we're sort of moving forward as a community. The master plan committees will actually report out at that meeting what they've been working on, where they're headed. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions or get involved, and I really encourage you to be there. Thank you very much. My name is Matt Sullivan, Director of Planning and Development. We'll see you next month.